Hey guys, I'm back, and with me another speed art. This one is of the Wolfman, of course, for my latest animation. I watched all of the Universal Wolfman movies and TV shows to create that animation, which you should all check out. With that said, I want to rank all of the Wolfman properties, plus a few bonus versions that didn't exactly fit in the Universal franchise, but are close enough to include here. I'm also including one that didn't even make it into my Wolfman video. I'll let you know which ones to watch and which ones to avoid. So without any further jibber jabber, let's jump into it. Coming in last place and possibly the worst film I've ever watched is 1960's House of Terror, also known as La Casa del Terror or Face of the Screaming Werewolf, but the only face screaming was my own, waiting for the runtime to run out. Worst movie I've seen in a long time, maybe since I covered Krampus. Boy, it's kinda sad that Lon Chaney Jr. had to make these low budget nothing movies in his later career, and don't get me wrong, he's the best part of this film and the only competent actor on screen, but it's not worth watching, even for Wolfman fans. In number 14 is a movie that didn't make it into my animation, and that is She-Wolf of London. You see, even though it's billed as a sequel to Werewolf of London, there are no characters from the first film even mentioned, and there's also no she-wolf in this film. No werewolf at all. It's just a tease of a monster film and disappointing follow-up to the original. In number 13 is the Monster Force cartoon series. It's a fun show that I would probably have watched if it aired in my childhood, and maybe I have vague memories of seeing reruns playing, but while it's fun, it isn't going to change your life. Still, if you want to put a show on in the background, you could do worse than this show. It's also neat that they tried to revive these icons as a kids show to get younger people interested in them, but there are better kids shows to watch if you really like. In 12th is 1945's Monster Mash movie, House of Dracula. It works pretty well up until the Doctor becomes a half-vampire creature, but most of the monsters are wasted here and the 1 hour runtime starts to even feel like it's dragging, and is hardly the length of an HBO episode. Still, it's fun to see all the monsters again in a serious Universal monster movie, and Lon Chaney Jr. nails his part again. In number 11 is Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman. It's a perfectly adequate cartoon movie for kids and a little bit better than the Frankenstein film crossover they did only a year or two prior. It benefits from Larry being more of a character and antagonist, although I'm confused if this takes place in the same universe as the previous film. Based on the dialogue, I assume not, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Still, it's a fun little kids film and you could do a lot worse. Coming into the top 10 is 2025's Wolfman. On a repeat watch for this video, the film's issues are a little more glaring. Largely the clunky dialogue and questionable monster design, which looks fine but isn't nearly wolfy enough. Although the Father Grady's Wolfman design is actually pretty great, and is competently directed throughout, and the cinematography and action scenes are effective. I liked it well enough in theaters, especially since I saw it on an IMAX screen, but it's not exactly exciting at home. In 9th is the Monster Mash film House of Frankenstein. On rewatching for the Wolfman, it still feels like it's two disjointed movies, Frankenstein together, but there's some brilliance to be found here with Boris Karloff as the menacing doctor and of course Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman, although like a lot of these Universal monster movies, its ending comes on suddenly, but it's quite poetic to see Karloff go down with the monster at the end. 8th place is Werewolf of London, the precursor to The Wolfman. It's a fun Universal monster flick, although I can see why this one hasn't stayed in the public consciousness like The Wolfman himself. But Henry Hull's performance is still great and his makeup still iconic. There just isn't as many iconic moments as the following Universal monster movie entries. In lucky number 7 is 1987's Monster Squad, which I know isn't Universal, but I just wanted to include in my video because of the great Stan Winston's designs. It's a fun 80s kids in peril movie with a monster twist, but the real star of the film is of course Stan Winston's wonderful makeup work. Also, it's cool seeing Greg from White Lotus as the Wolfman here. It has some outdated language at the start that may offend some watchers, and is a little odd to see in what I think is supposed to be an all-ages type movie. Still, it's a fun watch and worth checking out for 80s monster fans. In 6th is a film I've covered 3 different times on the channel. Once for Dracula, once for Frankenstein, and once of course for the Wolfman. And that's 2004's Van Helsing. I feel like I appreciate this film a little more every time I see it. It has a great opening and some fun action sequences. The behind the scenes features were also enlightening on the Blu-ray too, which I think made me appreciate the film even more. It does drag a little bit and isn't as good as the director's Mummy films, but it's still a great watch. In 5th is the first crossover film ever, at least I think it is, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. Upon this rewatch, the film works pretty well up until the Frankenstein monster shows up. But the heart of the film is Larry Talbot, and Lon Chaney Jr. kills it in the role again. But the hack job they did in the editing bay to avoid the monster talking ruins much of the film, although it's still a fun watch and a great piece of film history. In fourth is a single episode of a TV show, Route 66, Lizard's Leg and Owlet's Wing. It's a great episode of a TV show that I have very little knowledge of, but the jokes here on display were both funny and of course, of their time. Seeing Lon Chaney Jr. and Boris Karloff on screen as their respective iconic monsters is an absolute must-watch for monster fans, so check this out if you want a little more with these universal monster icons. Before I tell you my top 3, I'd love to know what your top 3 or favorite Wolfman film is below. But in third for myself is the Wolfman from 2010. It's a fun throwback style horror film that utilized modern film techniques. It has great special effects by the amazing Rick Baker and an A-list cast. It's a little slow at the start, but the final 30 minutes will keep you entertained, and Anthony Hopkins and Benicio del Toro are great in the leads, plus you get Emily Blunt and Hugo Weaving in supporting roles to boot, and from the director of Jurassic Park 3 and the first Captain America, so you're gonna have a good time watching this film if you've never seen it. In second is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. It's still just as funny and respectful to the Universal Monsters mythos as it was when it was released. While there's questions on if this is canon to the Universal Monster franchise, I see no reason why it can't be. These films never really gelled together great anyway, and this is no exception. But you get Lon Chaney Jr. back as the Wolfman, and Bela Lugosi returning as Dracula, and Glenn Strange returning as the Frankenstein monster. It also is the best Monster Mash movie that was ever made in the original Universal Monster run, so definitely check this one out if you like the classics. But in first place is the classic Wolfman film from 1941. It doesn't outstay its welcome, and it birthed an icon. The story, while simple, is well told, and the makeup is just as iconic then as it is now. Lon Chaney Jr. is the best he ever was as the Wolfman here, and Claude Rains as his distant father is a great addition. While it's a little dated, of course, it's a must-watch for all classic monster fans, and if you've never seen it, go out and watch it right now. It's actually really good. So that is my ranking of the Wolfman movies and TV shows. What is your favorite? Let me know down below. Check out the latest animation on Teleanimated to see and learn more about the Wolfman. I know these half black and white animations covering the Universal Monsters aren't as popular as some of my other videos, but I do them because I love them, and I hope you do too. Before I sign off, I want to thank June for supporting the Patreon recently, as well as all my other supporters. And until next time, I've been Aaron, and I'll tell you something later.